Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
Hey.
Hey,
We're finally seeing Gigi.
Hi, Karen. Great to see you guys.
we're just waiting for Matt Flynn to.
I realize that the glasses glare, but I don't have a choice. I want to see you guys.
Why not
Okay.
too?
Russell
Where's Russell and Matt?
called in. Matt is up there, but I mean, I saw him walk in, and I have this whole spiel to spout forth with, and no word from him, so I can turn the music up. Can you hear the music? Nice,
Very
soothing,
relaxing.
I got it.
melodic.
Too dark in here. 1 second. I'm trying to see where I can put on light. Okay.
Hey,
There you go.
Lacey, can
Yes?
you call Matt?
Where's Matt?
Matt, come on in. I can
Okay,
see
Matt.
him. This is funny.
It's just the way it is, Matt.
Since you work at home, you don't wear deodorant. I'm sweating up a storm.
Thanks for sharing, Glenn.
Yeah, too much.
What'd you see about Russell, Glenn? Is he coming?
Russell hasn't called in. I sent him emails. It's
What?
Oh, you know what? Matt's
probably
going by his computer. Matt,
Yeah.
run.
There's Matt.
Okay, good. I'm gonna now call Russell.
Hey, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Hey,
Hi,
Matt. Wait for it.
Hello.
Hey. Okay, everyone, we're here. So I'd ask you to first do me a favor. Oh my God, what is that? Who's making the phone call?
Hi, Lucy. How you doing? Hi, Russell. We're waiting on you.
Oh my goodness! Oh, I just walked the door.
Okay, why don't you go and sign on as soon as you can?
Okay, I'll be about a half hour.
A half an hour?
Well, that's cool. It's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, we're waiting on you as soon as you can.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye. Good. There you go. Done.
All right. So if you could all just mute for a minute, I'm going to do my little spiel. This thing I have to, that I wrote up, and then we'll get started. Welcome to episode 3 of Getting to Know You. Tonight's panel graduated in 1975 and share the fact that we grew up in Wantagh, New York, and attended the same high school. Back then, we were more known for what we didn't have in common, but 46 years later, I believe we shared a lot in common back then and do now. The goal of this show is to talk a little about then and understand the trajectory our lives have taken since we graduated. The show is not that long, but we should be able to get through all these questions I have and the number of people we have. I'll remind the panel to please mute when you're not speaking, unmute when you are. Everybody forgets to unmute, but we'll not make fun of you. And do feel free to respond to something which interests you that someone else might have said. We are taking some questions from the live audience. For those watching, there is only me running this show. And so if I miss your question, please feel free to send it again. So our guests tonight are in the bottom left-hand corner, Gail Farrell. Upper right-hand corner, Matt Flynn. Lacey Axelrod in the upper center corner. Karen Dalton in the right corner. And Gigi Arnaud in the bottom center. So welcome, everyone. You can now all go off mute, say hi, cross chatter. And so my first question is what I've asked in the 3 previous episodes, and I'm going to start with Lisi. Hey, Lisi, where'd you go to elementary school? And can you give us an idea of where your parents came from, where you came, how you ended up in
Sure.
Wantagh?
Sure. I was born in Brooklyn, lived there for 2.5 years. My parents then moved to Wantagh to 1306 Jonathan Lane. They bought their house for something like $19,000. It sold for a lot more than that, even burnt out after the fire. I went to kindergarten at Forest Lake School, but then because our neighborhood was so crowded, we got bused to Beach Street, to Sunrise Park School, which unfortunately has been taken down. It was really quite a beautiful building.
Cool. That's good to know. So the next thing I'll ask Gail. Gail, what's your history? What elementary school?
I went to Beach Street. Well, actually, I went to Beach Street for kindergarten first and half a second, and then they shipped me off to St. Francis de Chantal. Horrible. Took me out, and I went back to Beach Street in 4th grade.
And
It was a horrible experience.
I think we shared a class 4th or 5th or 6th, one of those classes. So, Matt.
Probably Mrs. Dreyfus. Did we have Mrs. Dreyfus together?
No, you had John Ferraro, and he's been talking
did.
about
Yes.
Yeah. No, not her. Hey, Matt Flynn, what elementary school did you go to, and how long where'd your parents move from?
Hello, everybody. My parents moved from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, to Levittown, and bought a house after the war. And then my mother didn't like the cookie cutter houses, so they found a individual or freestanding, whatever you call it, not a multiple design house, and they bought that in Wantagh in '57. And I went to Beach Street for kindergarten, and then 8 years of St. Francis, and yes, it was horrible. And then off to public school at Wantagh Middle School, or junior high school, as we used to call it.
Yeah. Okay.
Matt, do you remember Sister Gonzaga?
Oh my God, I didn't have her, but I knew about her.
And Sister Bernadette? Oh,
I had her.
Oh.
She slapped me down a bit.
Jean has
Sister Gonzaga hit me with the rule of trouble.
Yeah, Jean's told me a
Brutal.
lot about St. Francis and
Yeah.
Sister Bernadette, and said she was a mean nun. So, so Karen Dalton,
Hello.
what's your history?
Let's see. I was born in the Bronx, and we moved to Wantagh when I was in middle of second grade, and I went to Beach Street. I remember being invited to a birthday party and not knowing where that Island Road continued on the other side of Wantagh Avenue, and being totally lost, back before the GPS days. So I went to Beach Street School, graduated there in 6th grade, went to junior high school with everybody. And I was the oldest of 6, so we all moved here, and I'm in the house that we moved to right now. I'm staying at my dad's house right now. So, yep, still here. Moved in 2nd grade, and here all these years later.
That's interesting. I used to go over to your house because of your brother.
Around the block, yeah.
Yeah, and your brother and other people on John Street where I was friends with.
Yeah, we have a good street.
Yeah, it's an interesting street. So Gigi.
So my background, as you probably know, is a little different. The whole neighborhood was from Brooklyn and the Bronx, except my parents, who were from Paris, France. And from Paris, they went to Brooklyn. I was born in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, so that's funny. And then when I was about, like Lisi, when I was about 2.5, they moved to Wantagh, and I think the house was something like 22,000. So they did a lot of traveling.
Wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is a stupid question, and I asked Jean this question yesterday. Did you take French class?
I have to tell you something really stupid. I mean, we didn't have a choice when we were going to school. Like my brother and I, we wanted to take Spanish because we knew French, honestly. So and they wouldn't let us. So we used to go home from French, and I don't want to say who the teacher was, but I used to say to my mother, "Oh my gosh, she's making mistakes right and left." She said, "Shh." In those days, you're like, "Shh, don't say anything."
Yeah, I asked Elma Gonzalez once if she took Spanish in high school, and she did. So
Yeah. And later I took Spanish a little bit. So that's funny.
yeah. And Lisi, I'll warn you, don't hit the turn off button. You went offline, but you came back on. So just making sure. I can't hear you. You're on mute. Oh, you don't know how to, oh, she doesn't. Okay, hold on. Just a second. Sometimes we have technical. Go ahead, Lisi. Oh, no, you're still on mute. But I've unmuted you. Huh. Oh, man. Okay. I'm going to put up the technical difficulties sign that I had just in case. So hold on, everyone. I think this is going on in the background. It should say, but people will still hear us. So, Lisi, can you drop out and wait? Let me remove you and then add you to the screen and try to unmute you. Can't unmute your guest because they chose. It's saying that you've muted yourself, Lisi.
Is it on the bottom left of your screen and the kind of in the middle?
No, she has a.
Thank you.
There you go.
You're
Gail's a
welcome.
genius.
Okay. Good.
Hi,
Fantastic.
Lisi.
All
Hi,
right.
Gail.
I'm going to put this off. So, of those who are on the screen, how many of you were friends in growing up? Who knew one another?
Well, Gigi and I lived in the same neighborhood, and I have the sweetest story to tell about her parents. In growing up, we all knew it became dark and you'd have to go home, but it was emphasized by the sound of her mother's voice, really in a very beautiful melodic way, saying "Gigi, chérie, dinner" every day. And it was wonderful. It was kind of like the dong, dong, dong. And we didn't know what their background was. I just knew that this was kind of the soundscape to my growing up. And it was I don't know that we were close friends, but we were in Girl Scouts and we kind of grew up together. And it was kind of like having an extended family calling me into dinner.
And Gigi, you're on mute.
And we now live on the same street in Manhattan, but in different areas.
Cool.
Yep.
That's I couldn't believe that when you told me that yesterday.
Circle. Yeah.
It's amazing. So, Matt, did you know anyone on this group?
No, I didn't even know you, and you were just a couple blocks away, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
You know, you sort of hung in your own little neighborhood when you were growing up as a little kid. At least I did.
Right.
And I didn't even meet people outside of the few blocks that I lived in until St. Francis, and then they were pretty scattered around. Some in the neighborhood. And then once like 8th grade and then high school, it was you met people from all over town. So I met everybody.
Yeah, I remember Freedom. Well, I had the woods behind my yard, and everybody would know that as the Seaford Oyster Bay Expressway now. But before it was built, it was farmlands, and that was our big territory to go back into. And that's back your house backed onto that, didn't it, Matt?
No, I was on the corner of Henry and Orchard.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just north of Island, the end of Island Road. But
Yeah.
we hung out in the woods a lot. It was catching frogs stuff when we were kids, and then BB guns and cigarettes when we got older.
Yeah, I remember when I grew up, my grandmother lived next door. My parents bought the two homes in 1949 on Temple Drive,
Wow.
and the water tower was right behind my grandmother's house, and we used to throw rocks at it and ping it off. But you know, you stuck with people who were on DeMott, on Temple, and Princeton Drive North. So there was Eddie Bickman, there was the Brophies, it was Ward Muller, it was Chris Plate, who will be here next week, Nancy Blake, and then I got a bike, and then I was able to go to, as far as I wanted, and I even rode to Jones Beach. That was always fun. So, Karen, did you know any of these people when you were growing up?
Yeah, I didn't know Lisi until, middle school. Gail and I went to elementary school, but I don't think we were ever in the same
No,
class.
I don't think so.
I don't think we were. And Gigi also I met later on, middle school, high school. And Matt Flynn, I met in Greenport.
Yeah.
Remember, years later, which was nice. Yeah,
Yes.
very talented guy.
You are. Lucky you.
Full time, yeah.
Yeah, she
Nice.
is.
Come back out. Yeah, Glenn's been out there. Lisi's been out there. Yeah.
I'm coming, Karen. I'm
You're
coming.
coming, Gigi.
It was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, the house is not great, but I love it out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Very nice, Karen.
I should have bought a house when I first came out there with Gene 10 years ago.
Yeah. I remember when you were looking. Yeah.
Yeah, and now they're like 5x, 5 times the cost of what it is. So,
Is Matt, are you in the city?
I'm in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Sunset Park.
Oh, no.
Great. My son's in Brooklyn. Great.
My son's in Brooklyn too. Yeah. Fort
It's
Greene.
so funny. The grandkids of the people who moved from Brooklyn are moving back to
Oh,
Brooklyn.
yeah.
Right.
It was a cool place. Yeah.
It is.
My brother lives in Brooklyn,
Wow.
Carroll Gardens.
Yeah.
I used to run into your brother on the train every now and then, Gail. I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah, he's still there.
Good.
He's still there. He's doing well.
Good.
so
Wait, Glenn, I see those pictures you have of us behind you.
yep,
I
that's
see my high school yearbook picture, and I think this is the first time I've seen it since high school.
Yeah.
Or maybe one of those reunions. And I remember getting that haircut so I would look super straight.
because I just remember you with long hair.
Yeah, I cut it off in the picture.
Yeah, you do look like a poster boy there. That's very nice.
Yeah. So
Gail's picture, I have to say,
Wow.
Gail has a beautiful high school yearbook picture.
Oh, thank you.
yes.
Yeah. I don't know what happened with mine, but and Lisi's, yours is nice too, and Gigi's.
I love
Yeah.
Lisi dropped off again by accident, but she'll come back on. Lisi had asked
Think
me.
about it. How could we not look good? It was 46 years ago.
Seriously. Yeah. I mean, I don't like that picture of me, but yeah, I like to go back to how that's.
I like that picture of you. That lazy sideways.
There she is.
Yeah,
I think
Lisi's
everybody
back.
looks great.
I thought the putting the pictures together for every year that I interview, just so you know, I have 54 people from the class of 75 signed up to do these, every Monday.
Wow.
So there are definitely people.
That's nice.
The problem for me is I can't look at the comments and manage you guys. I need another person to put these comments in.
Yeah.
But you'll be able to watch it after it's done, and it's very interesting. So Lisi, for you, I did a gift. I redid the picture.
Well, let's not go into it, really.
I like your picture.
No, that's not it. It's just that some people's pictures were overblown and some weren't. So I went through it again, and I actually did.
Glenn brought it up. They put the wrong picture. That was a throwaway picture in my high school yearbook, and it was never supposed to be taken, to begin with. And I thought to myself, oh well, you know, I'll never see it again. And then the word came down that Glenn had digitized all the pictures. And I thought to myself, oh, hell, that damn picture is going to come back to haunt me again. So,
But if you notice, my back is over your picture and on my green screen. So
I
we see.
appreciate that. Let's change the subject right now.
Okay. All right.
Now I
So-
really want to see it.
Oh, no. Well, if I.
No, some other time. It's okay.
Yeah. So
Please not.
we got people putting in their comments. We got Elise Stern putting in her comment there. So you can all see that, I do believe.
Mhm.
So
So bring on the questions, Glenn.
I'm going on the questions. Come on. I'm just trying to, keep it light. So, okay. So the question now is the trajectory question. So let's start with Matt. Matt, when you left high school, and I have to tell you, I don't know whether you saw episode 2, Paul
No,
O'Brien. He was so funny and so self-effacing and so humble. And he said, if there were 422 people in class, I graduated 420th in the class. And he said, I got out of school and I didn't know what to do. So I joined the Navy and became a submariner. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. So I know a little about what you've done, Matt. So, but explain what happened. You graduated high school. Where
yeah. What was the end of your question?
what was your trajectory to where you are now? And you can take 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
That's all it's-
I don't. My story is not that big. Yeah, I graduated. I felt like I was getting out of prison. I absolutely hated high school. I hated junior high school, and I hated grammar school. I just didn't like school. So when I got out, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I did not want to go back to school. So I got a couple jobs, I guess, in the area doing, menial stuff. I think Ward Muller and I worked in a hubcap factory. It was probably the worst job I ever had out in Lindenhurst. And I went fishing a lot with some guys, in Montauk, Mark Schofield and guys like that. And then I thought, well, I better do something. So I went to school for commercial art, and part of that was photography, part of that curriculum. And I just loved it. First picture that I developed in the darkroom, I just loved it. And I pursued that. So I transferred to FIT, and that got my foot in the door to the whole New York photography scene. And I assisted, I graduated FIT, I think, in 80. And I assisted for about 5 or 6 years, and it was great fun. And then started my own business and became a commercial photographer in New York. You take the scale of photography, and the bottom is here and the top is, Stephen Meisel, $25,000, $50,000 a day is up here. I was probably somewhere around here. So there's a lot of different, levels of photography. I was not a bottom feeder, but I was nowhere near the top. And, I wanted to work for National Geographic. So I kept sending them story ideas and showing them my portfolio. And they, they'd say, oh, we got a guy out doing the Peace Corps right now and blah, blah, blah. And, I'd send them another story idea, and I'd go down and talk to people. And then I had a kid. And I said, well, I better really start making some money here. So I started heading towards the more commercial end of photography, which was catalogs, low-end advertising, portraits, corporate portraits. And it was great. I had a loft on 27th and 6th. And, there were some really great years and some rough years, with the economy, the way things go up and down. And back about 1995, I was at a party and I was talking to a friend, and she said, you ever, shoot parties? I said, well, yeah, I do grip and grin, but I'm not real crazy about it. And she worked for the Smithsonian as their fundraising person. And she said, why don't you shoot one of my parties? So I said, okay. So I started shooting the parties, and then she introduced me to the image rights person at that museum. and I started shooting collections, museum collections, and I
Mm.
loved it. And I just, it was just so different than, commercial, still life and commercial photography where everything's rush, rush, rush. With museum objects, you got to be a little bit more careful, a lot more careful, because if you break it, it's, irreplaceable, supposedly. And I just loved it. So I just pursued it and kept working at it. And now after many years of freelancing, about 7 years ago, I went staff with the Smithsonian at the Cooper Hewitt.
Wow.
And it worked out perfect because I work 3 days a week there, and then I have 2 days a week to freelance or, go upstate to my house upstate or do whatever. And when the Smithsonian units in in Washington, have something that needs to be shot in New York and somebody doesn't want to come up for it, I get to shoot it. So I should work for the other Smithsonians too. And I put in my notice to retire May 13th, my 64th birthday, in the middle of January, and I am psyched.
Ah,
That's a great story.
I'll still freelance, but
That's great.
It is. My father bought me a Polaroid camera when I was 9, and he would go past 47th Street Photo, and once a week we would buy me a roll of Polaroid film, and he'd say, "You have to make it last, a week." And so he said, learn how to see a picture and then take a picture, instead of just wasting it on, anything you see. And
right?
so I'm jealous of you because I've had a great career, but I wish I could be a photographer.
Oh, you are.
Yeah, no, I do it, but it's just, it's you live that life, and I love photography, and I took
Yeah, I've
12.
seen some of Matt's work. It's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
I have too. Where
Matt, I'd love to know your website and stuff to see it too.
MattFlynnPhoto.com.
Got it. Thank
And
you.
just a disclaimer: the site is being built as we speak, so it's a
Mhm.
work in progress.
are
Yeah.
you the only Matt Flynn photo? Because
No. There's a guy in Boston. We used to refer each other to jobs. He's a wedding photographer.
right, he
And
does the weddings. Because when I was trying to look you up, I ran into his website. So,
yeah,
and you said you have a house upstate. Where?
you know where Rhinebeck is?
Mhm.
Heard of it?
It's
Yeah.
it's a little house in the woods on a lake, about 15 miles north of Rhinebeck.
Beautiful area. Mm.
Yeah, it
Nice.
is.
So will you stay in Brooklyn or will you spend more time upstate?
Well, we're already spending more time upstate. With the pandemic, we went up when the city closed down. What was that? March 18th, I believe. And my job closed down the same day. So I was up there, tinkering around. And then the job opened up again in Smithsonian put us back to work, or put me back to work, not everybody, just some of us, I think in July. So I've been working since July. Will I spend more time upstate? Yes. And more time other places.
Cool.
Because I'm jealous of you. We're envious, not jealous.
All right.
Envious of your traveling the world.
Yeah. Well, it has been fun. So,
Good.
thank you very much, Matt. I'd like to go to Lisi. So, Lisi, can you tell us your trajectory after you graduated?
My trajectory after I graduated, went to school. Let's see, what's the pertinent things? At Binghamton, I won something called the Catch a Rising Star contest. That was Rick Newman was founding Catch a Rising Star, and he also managed a bunch of singers, including Pat Benatar, and they were looking for the next Pat Benatar. And that was like my first big break, whatever that means, and got to go down to Catch a Rising Star and sing, and things were looking great, and I was very happy. And also had been with, for David, who I met when I was 16. He had graduated college and he was like my boyfriend who I then married, but he would show up sometimes to help me out there. But one of the reasons I couldn't stay on is I was really harassed. I was 20 years old and didn't really understand what sexual harassment was, and it was a drag. And Larry David was like the bane of my existence and made life really hell for me. And so I kind of just pulled out of that and stopped singing for a while because it was the whole environment was very difficult for me. And then did a bunch of different jobs, mostly nonprofit, profit collaborations, worked at several different bar associations doing events, worked at NYU doing events. David and I had a recording studio in Park Slope. We brought a bunch of people in. He was involved in the whole downtown scene in New York. Didn't do a lot of stuff. My music, I really kind of put it aside. And then after we broke up, I started singing again in the studio, and did some things that were okay and fun, and pretty much went in and out of the business side of the entertainment world and the back of the stage and the front of the stage. And back of the stage stuff was also about doing events, like big events in Central Park and things. Did a bunch of music series for New School and did it as freelance. It was all word of mouth, and people just said, I know you by reputation and come do this. Most of the stuff I'm involved with now is more jazz. You don't have to age out of that. Involved with most of my friends and really love what they do. I lived in Park Slope for a long time, then moved to downtown Manhattan. Barely went above 14th Street when I was there. Now I live for the past, let's see, before 9/11, I moved up to Harlem. And I've been here since. I live a block above Central Park. And I'm involved now with a community garden, which is great. And I produce little music series there. And I'm back singing again. And that's the best part. Oh, and the other part of my job is rather than doing events, I'm a little too old now to do events wearing heels and backwards like Ginger Rogers. You can't really do it past a certain age. So I got into legal recruiting, and I've been doing that for the past 10 years. And I speak to some very smart people and help them with their career. So I'm able to balance the work part of making the money and not have to worry about making the money doing music. And I can fund my own music projects and get some help with other people doing funding of music projects. And that's kind of my career trajectory.
That's great. That's it's very interesting. I've had the opportunity to hear you sing before, and
Oh,
you
right.
invited
Yeah.
the two of us to hear you sing, and it
Yeah.
was great.
Mhm.
Really enjoyed
Thank
it.
you.
So
Thank you.
uh,
It's really a great joy. And if I can pull away from the seedier side of it and just play with my friends and not have to worry about, what one has to hustle to get the money, which now is practically non-existent. It's
yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. So I wanted to give you a chance to take a minute and 45-second break, and then we'll continue on. But I have a video I'm going to play at this point, so it should blank you guys out. Okay, that was the minute and 45 seconds, and we're back. That was just I found a memory about Wantagh, and that's where we have in common. So, Gigi, would you like to go next? Do you mind?
No, not at all. So, wow, a lot of lives in one. Graduated, went to college, and then after I became a dentist, and I did that for a long time, like 37 years until last year. And like Matt said, when you have kids, that becomes important, giving them a good life, right? So I did it for a long time and I liked it, but my real love, is what I'm doing now. So I now went back and I'm a mindset coach. I'm also a hypnotherapist and a speaker. And I got back to my art, my painting and drawing and stuff that I really love. So I am really a happy camper now. My son is grown up and everything. So hi, Russell.
Oh,
So
Gigi, hello.
hi. So,
All
What are you
it's
doing?
it's really, yeah. So, and I also, after dental school, I lived abroad and then came back. So I've, done a lot of different things, a lot of traveling, which I love, but not like Glenn, not professionally, but now maybe, because now it's different. I don't have to be in the office anymore. So it's really good.
No, that's great. I let me just say to Russell, thanks for joining us, Russ. We're just going through the other people right now, and then I will get back to you. So
No problem.
if you don't mind relaxing, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in 46 years, I think.
It's crazy.
Been a long time. But Gigi, that's how do you get into the coaching? That's
Well, I was a coach, when I was doing dentistry, I studied hypnosis for my patients, and then I got into coaching. And then more recently, more specifically into mindset coaching, because it's great for me. It mixes art and science, it's psychology, it's art, it's everything. And I'm loving it because it helps people in a different way than just doing a crown.
I can imagine. I can imagine. But yeah, well, that's great. I'm just seeing if there's people are now Russell's getting all the attention in the comments. So I'm just gonna rather than explode Russell's head, he doesn't see those comments yet.
No, I don't.
No, we'll wait for that.
Okay, good.
So Karen, you graduated. Where'd you go? And
After I graduated, I actually spent my first year of college at National Community because it was just so different back then. Like, I was the oldest of 6 kids. Nobody really knew that much about college. But so most of my friends went away, and I spent a lot of time visiting them in Albany and where a lot of my friends went. But I went to Nassau for a year, then I transferred to Stony Brook. And I stayed there. I got into the Bachelor of Social Work program and then the Masters of Social Work program. So I stayed there and got my master's. Came out, graduated, traveled in Europe for like 9 weeks on the Ural Pass, which was great. Came back, moved to the village in the city, and got a job at the New York Foundling Hospital, where I was a social worker in adoption and foster care, and I loved it. I only worked there 5 years until the night before my first son was born, which was 35 years ago. And then I had kids. I didn't work for a long time. Kind of a regret that I have. But I mean, I love being home with them, but it was just a different time. And moved to Long Island, lived in Manhasset for 31 years. And I did a lot of volunteer work there, which is pretty much I did when the kids were growing up. Mostly stuff that involved them, Girl Scout leader for 7 years, things like that. And then about in 2012, I think, I started working at a place called Adventures in Learning, which was a little bit about social work. It was with kind of kids, a lot of English as a second language students. and it was an after-school program, just run totally on donations. But it was a great program. I got very, very attached to a lot of the kids. Absolutely loved working there. And the last time I worked there was right before everything started here with the quarantine. I went away to Aruba for 10 days, came home, and I haven't worked there since. So it's been a tough year. The last 3 winters, I've been taking care of my dad in Wantor and then going back to Greenport. And that's why I'm in Wantor right now. He's 88 now, and I'm pretty much doing a lot for him now.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I've been there.
Yeah.
And your daughter's a nurse.
Yes. So my youngest child, Megan, is a nurse in the city. And then my second one is the one who just had the baby. And then my oldest son will have a baby in a few days. So, yep, trying to catch up to Fran Miller there. I just saw she commented though. Yeah, I've been following her kids, her grandchildren, everyone's grandchildren. So now I'll have a 2 by next week, which is nice.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
cool. That's good stuff. Great
Yes.
stories. So, and I love coming out there.
Yeah.
Particularly,
Oh, that's right. You met Megan. Yeah, we all had lunch together. That was nice with Jean.
yeah. And Jean's mom lives in Greenport.
Yeah.
And Rover.
Yes, and Rover. Yeah, my granddog. Now I have 2 granddogs.
Yeah.
And I've seen Jean's mom in church when I used to go to St. Agnes. So I know she doesn't go there anymore, but I know but when she was more active, I used to see her there. Sweet lady. Yeah.
That was probably about 10 years. Well, 8 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
Very active. But just for those who don't know, my part of my family is 8 generations deep in Orient Point and Greenport. So that's why I always loved going out there as a kid. And so used to visit family. So Gail, so
Yes.
you graduated, it's whatever day. I graduated a year ahead of you guys. So but it's June 23rd. And what happened June 24th?
I probably got on a train into Manhattan to go on job interviews. Actually, Eileen McLaughlin and I used to go in for secretarial because that's what I took in high school. I got a job. I was 17, scared out of my mind. That's the one thing you have to say about Wanto, though. We had no clue what the world was like. I mean, walking down the street, seeing like homeless people playing drums in the middle of the street. I'm like, what's going on? I was 17. But I worked in the city for probably about 6 years. Came back out to Long Island, worked in a couple of law firms. Got married in 81. Had 3 boys. I was also a stay-at-home mom, and that is a regret not working. I should have at least worked part-time because by the end of those 20 years, I felt like I was going brain dead. I got a job in a dental office. Worst job ever. And then, I don't know if you guys remember Patty Visegli. We called her T or Beasley. She hates to be called Beasley. She got me a job. Well, she introduced me to people where she worked in a law firm. I'm there now 13 years. I'm a manager. That's about all I did. My parents moved from Wantaw in 1978. We lived in Rockville Center for a little while. Then I got married in 1981. 3 boys, 1 granddaughter. I just made, I say a mistake. I have a puppy, which was the hardest thing to do. She's adorable. We love her, but oh my God, I'm exhausted. It's like having a newborn baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, I'm working. I'm still working. I was furloughed. I was furloughed for a while. That was really scary. I went back to work in July. And I'm there. My husband is a teacher. He's retiring in June, and he's thrilled. I still have to work. And kind of it.
To pay Long Island taxes,
I pay
unfortunately.
Long Island taxes. It's a lot of money. We have plans to go, like where Matt is. He's got a place on the lake. That's what we want to do
Yeah, that would be nice.
because
So,
you know my husband would fish every day of his life if he could,
wow.
and I would just sit and read a book.
All right. Well, thank you. So, Russ, everybody needs to mute now, except for Russ. All right. So, Russell, we started off by asking the first question: which elementary school did you go to, and how did your parents end up in Wantagh?
Oh, wow. I went to Beach Street, the Wantagh School, and that was before they built the footbridge to Forest Lake, because I was really closest to that, just across the parkway. And my parents, I think they bought the house in Wantagh. They said because they couldn't afford the down payment on a house in New Jersey, where some of their friends lived. I think my parents paid $13,000 for their house. They put $500 down and paid, I think, the 12.5 off over 25 years. It's crazy when you think about, like, you can't even get a used car for that. Well, I guess you get a used car, but anyway, it's pretty wild. When I left, let's see, I heard everybody talking about what they did when they graduated high school.
There was one question before that.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
You and I, we were in elementary school together and had 1 year together, I think. But were you friends with any of the other people who are in this group?
Well, in high school, yes, certainly Lisi and Gigi, and I remember Gail from many a class, and I think, were we in elementary school together also, Gail? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And Karen, I just don't. I think we were in classes together, and in elementary school as well, right? Oh, okay.
I always knew you. Yeah, I don't know if we were in classes together. I moved in second grade, but I, always knew you.
Yeah.
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 We all kind of knew each other, even though it was a big class. Yeah.
And Matt, I remember your name, but I don't remember, where we crossed paths. Yeah. And that's a big trouble with, when you're looking back 40 years. I can't believe you have like yearbook pictures behind you, Glenn. That is so cool.
I'm hiding yours.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, yeah. I think I see that. Yeah.
There you are.
That's funny. That's great.
Anyway, yes, and the trajectory question was just what happened when you left high school to how you got to where you are now. I don't know where you're sitting.
So I'm sitting in my dining room of the house we just sold in Short Hills, New Jersey. My wife Susan and I have lived here for 23 years. And I heard somebody talking, Gail was talking about a lake house. So reason I was late is we bought a lake house, and it's a fixer upper. That's kind of what we do. Lisi always said that whomever I married would have paneling in her basement. But Susan wouldn't have it, no paneling for her. Anyway, so when I left school, I went to college in Pittsburgh at Carnegie Mellon, and from all the shows we did, I thought I would be a Broadway lighting designer. And halfway through school, I decided I wasn't going to suffer for my art, so I really went towards television lighting. And let's see, I had I had dated Karen Washenko in high school, so I worked for her father the summer before college in a machine shop in Roosevelt, and that was quite an education. And when I came back after my first year at school, I went back to work for him in the machine shop, and that was pretty lucrative. And so the, the the school had a flying club, and I got my pilot's license just for the gag, and that was sort of funny. The way I found out about the club, I would never even think that somebody my age would fly a plane. The guy across the hall from me freshman year said, "Hey man, do you want to go flying tonight?" And remember, it was the 70s. And so I asked him just what he had in mind, and he said, "Oh no, Tony up on the third floor, he's got a pilot's license." And um, I still couldn't believe it. I had knocked on the guy's door, and I was like, "So you're Tony? You got a pilot's license? Would you show it to me?" And we became fast friends because it turned out I was the first person that ever asked to see his license, and got my pilot's license sophomore year, and and finished out my theater bit, and went into the television lighting business. I had last semester of college, I had an internship with a company in Washington that went to Baltimore, and so I because I had the live theater background and the television experience, I wound up doing a lot of live specials. Um, Night of 100 Stars, and Santana, and who was that? The Hart sisters from the Dominican Republic, and it was Concert for the Americas, I think. Anyway, the Tony Awards, shows like that. And and in the meantime, I kept flying, and my days off would be like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I would go to the airport, and I wound up dating the girl from the front desk, and then I wound up continuing to fly, and work in the theater business, and then the business took a slowdown. By then, I had gotten my flight instructor's license, my commercial license, and I flew charters, and taught students. And I looked up and said, "You know what? I don't want to work in a dark theater or a convention center, and I'm out of here." And so I turned flying into a career. Worked at I did do a short stint out in California, and for a computer company, but that was an error in judgment. And then I wound up working for a commuter airline, and then TWA, and then American Airlines. And after 9/11, I hung on for it'd be about a year and a quarter. January of 03, they furloughed me, and with 10,000 airline pilots or so on the street, I started a little construction company, taking the set building that I knew, and the all the work I used to do with my dad, and so on, and I was fixing people's houses. I hope I didn't lose all you guys, because all I see is my face. Oh, there we go. Glenn's back. So anyway, then I had a friend. It was actually, I had befriended my cleaning lady's son, and he was flying for executive jet management, and Julio Iglesias, and Julio was such a charm.
Couldn't wait to get out. Like most kids want to get out from where they live, but and now when I go back, it's sort of nice. I go back for funerals and weddings and family events, and it's sort of a nice place. There's good memories from Montauk for me.
Yeah, that's I've got that same experience. I left a year advance of you, and it was out to California, and there was, I was so happy, and and I didn't go back really until 2000. So it was many years. But anyway, it's not my turn to answer. So Karen, what do you? I know you're still living in Wantagh, but what
Temporarily, just for a few months in the winter, please.
is
But
there
I
any?
have to say, I actually liked high school. I had different varied groups of friends throughout the years that I still, fortunately, I'm in touch with a lot of my friends from high school. A lot of my friends can't believe that because a lot of friends had more experience like Matt that, really didn't like, didn't have a lot of great things to say about high school, but I really, I liked high school and I'm happy that I'm still friends with a lot of my high school friends. And especially now with Facebook, which I refused to get on for many years. And then I was pushed, I think pretty much Peggy Sachs probably got me onto Facebook. And it's been great reconnecting with people. I really enjoy it. In fact, my daughter, sometimes I'll laugh at something someone says, and my daughter will be like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm like, "Oh, this kid from high school is so funny." And he'll be like, "Oh, that 64-year-old kid?" And I'm like, "Yeah, exactly." I still think of us as a bunch of kids from Water High School. In terms of teachers, I mean, Jones Beach obviously was also, like Matt said, that was my favorite place. It still is. I love going to the beach as much as I can, especially off season. I prefer it off season. And I worked at Jones Beach Theater, so those were all good memories. But from high school, I think the teachers that stood out were Mr. Tulo, my math teacher and the track coach. I used to hang out with the track team a lot, so I got to know him pretty well. And then elementary school, Mrs. Bonder, who I think a lot of us are friends with on Facebook now, which is amazing. She's my 4th grade teacher in Beach Street. Mrs. Novick, I loved my 6th grade teacher, who has unfortunately passed away. But that's it. It was just good memories, and it's nice being back here. Wantor changed a lot. I mean, I think the houses. I think my dad's kind of the last original, Cape in Wantor. It's just everyone's putting up these giant. I say the families are getting smaller and the houses are getting bigger. I don't really get it.
Yeah,
I just one bedroom with a porch on the beach somewhere. That's all.
Right.
yeah, yeah. No, I believe that. Gigi,
Well, Karen, one thing about being our age is that you do want to simplify. It's so funny. You want this and you go, I'm so happy to be in an apartment in the city. I can't tell you. But I graduated in January of 75, actually, Glenn. And then I worked for a little to make some money. But interestingly, I liked growing up in Wancho. I loved the beach. We grew up on the beach clubs in Lido, Long Beach area. So that was fun. And we went into my parents, you were for Parisian, so they took us into the city all the time. So I really got to know New York also. But the person and Karen's going to know this, the teacher who really influenced me was Ms. Noto, Janice Noto. And I really tried to contact her, but I can't find her. She was the French teacher, but it's not just because she was the French teacher, but she really influenced my life. She let me know in no uncertain terms that I could do whatever I wanted. And I had never really heard that. In those days, women is supposed to be, a nurse, a teacher, whatever. She completely encouraged me, and she was just an amazing woman. I stayed in touch with her a little bit after, but then I lost contact. Karen, I don't know if you heard about her for years, but she was lovely. And she did, change a little bit the trajectory of my life. So, and I think it was generally a really nice place to grow up. I mean, like everybody said, it was like Gail said, it was a little bit, you were a little, not a little, a lot sheltered from the world, but it was baby boomer times. Everybody was outside. It was just, there were nice things about it.
all right, that's good. Gail,
I loved Wantagh. I loved growing up there. I loved high school. I tried to move back, couldn't afford it. My favorite teacher and is Mr. Kalinowski. He just was so supportive of me. He was always encouraging me. He was a great guy. Ran into him a couple of years later, just somewhere, and we were so happy to see each other. He's on Facebook. He's crazy. Him and his wife work in Disney World, seasonal. It's crazy. You hear my crazy dog?
I was going to mute Russell because I thought it might have been his dog.
Oh, that's mine. Somebody has the audacity to walk past my house.
Oh, man.
Oh my God. But other than that, I think Wanto was great. I mean, good people, good friends. You know, it was a great time. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. I appreciate that. Russell.
Yeah, I mean, I loved growing up in Wantaw, and I have to say we were sheltered. Never occurred to me. I didn't know what gay was, you know. I mean, until I got to college. Didn't occur to me that some of the kids in the in the drama club were gay. It's like, you know, a lot of that sort of thing was just, you know, totally sheltered. We rode our bikes everywhere. I remember I rode my bike out to Montauk, and I didn't. I have to say that my mother loved the boardwalk and loved the loved the Jones Beach. But for me, I loved the bay. I loved going sailing. I had a little boat that I rebuilt in the backyard in high school. And it was a little sailboat. And then later on, Jerry Fine and I were partners in a 25-foot sailboat. We kept it behind his folks' house. It was just great. And high school, there were a lot of teachers that I guess that I really that really opened up my eyes to some things. Solomon, I forgot what he was like the AV advisor, and he really introduced me to video and to really get interested in audio, and also Doris Haycox. She was a pain in the ass, and she really, you know, broke your chops. But in the end, she really taught us about the discipline of theater, and I learned so much about lighting without really realizing that I was learning it. And so she gave us a wide latitude to learn those sort of things. And then there were just so many people at the school, and it seemed like there was although I was like one of the freaks, I kind of got along with the greasers and some of the jocks, and it was just not. It was great. I mean, I really loved it. My mom left Wantaw 11 years ago, and you know, I still now and again will contact her neighbors. The Triquets, Betty Triquet lived. She has a house next door, and she was actually the realtor that sold the house for my mom. Walter and I would smoke pot, you know, and that was only after Mrs. Triquet was saying how wonderful he was tending to her tomato crop. And I took a look and I was like, hey, that's some fine weed. That's what I told him. And so, you know, we wound up listening to music and getting stoned. So it was just a lot of fun. And speaking of that, I used to love like when we would go out in the summertime, we'd go out in the field for you know, lunch break. And I would jump over the fence, crank open the windows in my room, put my speakers up there, and play DJ for 40 minutes or so. And while all my friends were getting high along the fence. Yeah, it was a fun time, and yeah, no regrets there. I really have to say, and I do try to keep in touch with some people. I'm not that good at it. Facebook, I'm still resisting. Maybe when I retire, I'll dig into Facebook. But for right now, um, I wish I remember the name of the typing teacher that we had. I am she just made me crazy. I refuse to learn to type, and
The
that's
Gelman?
what's that?
Gelman? Was Mr.
Maybe.
Wyckoff?
Yeah, no, it was a lady teacher,
Oh,
and I just remember her saying ASDF, semi, 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 and I just wanted to. And in fact, since we're kind of packing up the house, I was looking at the yearbook thinking, man, should I keep it? I will. And one of the guys in the last, like your final words or whatever, the last testament, left me a typewriter out the window, because he was in the typing class. And that's what I wanted to do with that typewriter, just chuck it right out the window. Anyway, yeah. I had a great time.
that's cool. We're gonna get to Lisi when she gets back, but I want you to know that last episode, Mrs. Haycox was selected by 3 of our participants as the most influential person in their lives.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Wow.
let's get to Lisi before she falls off. And then I have a closing announcement. So Lisi,
Okay,
who
I will be
influenced
quick.
you?
I'll be quick because I'm in and out. The teachers, Tom Farmer really helped me a lot in terms of loving jazz and loving music. Doris Haycox was a pain in the ass, but she was hard on me for a reason, and I get it. For me, it was the kids that I grew up with. It was the parties, the drama parties, and working on theater after theater and that kind of bonding. It was Nancy Blake's house with the whole group of us. It was Bruce Newberg's house and all his people from theater, uh,
Up.
including Michael Kors, who was a DJ, told me that I was his muse at one point. Include Harry, who I went to his house and I met David there.
Whoops.
She's it's her
Oh,
brother. It's not you, Russ.
Oh,
Okay.
I did something that I shouldn't have. I went to see what the chats were about, and now I lost your faces.
Oh, have you?
Yeah,
Oh man.
here we go.
right.
Oh, there we go. There you are.
All right, we're bringing on Lisi for another 10 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, guys. This is really a drag. I remember it was Sue Gallo and Ivy Gers and writing poetry and riding bicycles. It was Alan Seinfeld and having him call every Saturday morning and say, do you want to go to the midnight show? It was the people that I shared theater, music, and film and friendships with. And that's what got me to really love the people I grew up with.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much.
I forgot about the Uniondale Mini Cinema.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. So
Yes. And the beach. The beach was
mhm.
one.
yeah,
Always the beach.
the beach.
Mhm.
Yes. And I actually live on the water. I live just above Annapolis. I have a house on the water. Gene
Awesome.
Preller and I got married and live happily ever after. I got to marry the person I had a crush on in high school. So, but was too shy to admit it. So I wanted to let you know who's going to be appearing on this panel next week. It'll be Chris Plate, Kathy Bolts, Lee Callett, let me see, Ed Hoey, Robert Berg, and Fran Miller will be joining us for a full room. We actually have the class of 1963 scheduled for the third week in May, and we have the class of 1971 for the last Monday in May and the first Monday in June thus far. They're just, falling over themselves trying to get people to join this. And so I greatly appreciate you
Right.
guys.
Well, Glenn, I want to thank you for doing this, and I want.
Oh, we lost you, Lisi. So I greatly appreciate everyone.
I want to thank you very much, and I want to thank everyone for sharing their stories, and it was lovely.
Great. And we took 20 extra minutes, and I'm really glad you joined us and spoke from the heart, and we're really willing to share your stories. And I know Karen was telling me beforehand, I'm too shy to do this shit. Anyway, so everyone, be sure to close your browser when you're done.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good
Great
evening.
seeing everybody. Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank
So
you.
nice seeing you all.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Yeah.